Cynthia Peter. I am originally from Nigeria, but I currently live in Amsterdam. Pretty much very homeless because I just moved there about 6 or 7 weeks ago. And if you want to learn anything at all about Amsterdam, I need you to understand that the housing is a mess. It's horrible. And if you have plans to move there, just prepare to just get very, very tricked into it. So yes, so today I want to talk about my journey as an open source contributor. This is because very often people say contribute to open source, but it's very hard, it's very difficult, especially for newbies like myself. Okay, I'm not exactly a newbie, don't get me wrong. I've been in tech for like maybe 10 years, tried a couple of different things, but I'm speaking from a place of, I learned about open source for the first time in 2017. I attended a conference, Devfest, and at that time someone spoke, Unico developer, I remember him very well, and he talked so much about how important it is to contribute to open source, the benefits, and how much value it gives both to whoever is contributing and to the community at large. It was very interesting to me because I'm a people person, or I like to think of myself as one. So I reached out to him and I asked ways I could contribute. He was very kind and very patient. He talked about finding projects you care about and all of that. I actually did. I found projects I cared about, but hola. It doesn't work like that. I found this project and I reached out to them, but oftentimes I did not have the technical knowledge to understand anything. I just never got past the setup and installation phase. And that's like the first thing you need to understand or get through to do your first contributions anyways. Embracing uncertainties. So beginning of this year, I was among the unfortunate ones that got laid off from my job. And at the same time, I was moving to Malta as a digital nomad. So that meant I was moving to a new environment. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I had the opportunity to just enjoy living by the sea, which was very good. So during that time, I thought about, instead of rushing into getting a new job, this was a very good time for me to actually explore open source again and see if I'll be able to break into it. Last year, I did a little bit of open source contribution, but it was a good one because what I did first was I learned about this Igbo API thing. I am from Nigeria, I said that before. I am Igbo. It's a language and a tribe from Nigeria. I would like to say one of the strongest, but yeah, I won't say that out loud. So there's this Igbo API, and basically what it does is they are collecting words, sentences, voice notes, everything just to preserve the language. And it interested me when I heard about it, and I offered to do the open source thingy again. But this was my first time of actually being able to get past the onboarding and get past the first couple of meetings, and it made sense. I was like, okay. So when the owner or the maintainer asked me how I would like to contribute, I was like, what's the simplest thing that can be done? What's the simplest thing? I know I'm a technical writer and all of that, but what is the simplest thing I can get done as a contributor? I don't need it to be technical. I don't need it to be nothing. Just tell me what I can do. You can record voice recordings, or you can check some of the languages. Since I'm very fluent, you can check some of the words and make sure that they're punctuated well and all of that. And I was okay, that sounds fine. And that was how I started. So when we talk about open source contributions, we oftentimes focus on the very technical parts, whereas one of the ways to actually get more people involved is the other parts, like the ones that seem simple, like maybe organizing events or planning stuff or just reviewing stuff, right? It puts a newbie like me in a position where I'm doing something that is very good. I'll see the results in like a very short time, and at the same time, I don't have to break my head to understand what publish and message is on my first week of contribution. So that was it. I recorded a couple of voice notes, and a few days later, I would go on the API, or I'll try to look at applications that are built on the API. And when I play the sound and I hear my voice, and I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of myself. I even wrote an article about it, right? But yes, that was really good. So this year, when I decided I wanted to get more active, I made a list of communities I was passionate about. I had the Igbo API, I had Async API. Async API fell into that list because there was a posting for a job, postman, and I reached out to, I've forgotten who exactly, and I said, I am a technical writer, and as much as I would like to apply for this job, I don't qualify for it. However, if you have a project you're part of, and you think you need contributors or volunteers, I'm currently jobless, and I'm not ready to go into the job market, but I would like to just play around and see how things go, right? I'm uncertain what I want to do. I don't know what my strengths are at this moment, but I want to explore and see what my opportunities are. And I remember the person said, okay, sure, no problems. What I would say is, he sent me an invite to the Async API Slack and said I should join, and I should reach out to him there. We'll have the conversations from there. And that was what I did. And in doing that, I was very uncertain. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. I was in a new environment. I wasn't ready to get back to working. But more than anything, I felt open source was my opportunity to just take a pause. For me, it was like a huge pause, take a pause and just focus on actually getting things done. So in embracing uncertainties, I acknowledged the uncertainties that I don't know if I'll be able to end up doing technical writing here, but one thing I know is I just want to contribute, and I just want to have fun doing that. So there was the adaptability and learning, which is trying to understand what Async API does. I recently had a call with Fran, where I tortured him with very dumb questions about, okay, so Async API explains to me like I'm 5. Why should I care about using Async API when there are like probably 110 million other options or not? And he was very kind to having that call with me. I still have lots of questions, however, but I think I am closer to understanding things better. Then risk-taking. It was risk-taking for them. Fran, Alejandra, who is my mentor. I totally understand how hard it is to take someone and help them try to understand this product, understand this thing, and get them to, how did he say it? Get them to participate. It's very hard. Like, it's very risky because I'm very flaky. One day I'm up there, and the second day I'm like below the ground. And but yes, it's a huge responsibility on their part. I don't take that for granted. The resilience, this goes both sides. They are very active in, hey, this is what we need to do. You can do it. Alejandra is always like, oh, you can do this. Oh, you got this. And Tulie also, it's always reaching out to me and telling me about stuff that needs to be done, just general brainstorming, which has been very helpful as well. Then innovation, there are lots of things I never thought I would be able to do. Like, for example, I'm currently working on an onboarding document for Async API with the help of Alejandro, of course. And I probably wouldn't have thought I'd be able to pull off such a huge project by myself, because a couple of times I've even thought about, I should just reach out to Alejandro and tell her I can continue, because it's the more I work on it, the more it gets big. And I was thinking this would probably be like a 5-pager or something. And now it's like having branches and having children, and it's becoming like this whole thing. But being able to find ways to think around it and create something beautiful or something that will help lots of newbies like myself when they decide to join has been very good for me. And then community collaboration. I mean, there's everybody here. Also, in other communities I've been a part of, like Write the Docs. I joined Write the Docs this year as well, sometime I've been a part of Write the Docs general community for like over 2 or 3 years, but I've never been active because the whole open source thing was a little bit difficult for me to break into. But this year, because I had the time, I reached out again, and I was very particular about asking for help from people that were there already. So when I reached out, I said, I want to do open source, and I really want to use this opportunity to understand what the requirements and the responsibilities are. However, I'll need help. And help I have gotten, help I have received. So yes, that's part of the embracing opportunity uncertainties part, the power of open source. So during one of our calls for Write the Docs, someone mentioned that they were attending a conference in Poland, in Krakow, Poland. And someone else mentioned they had one to attend in Amsterdam. After the call, I looked both conferences up, and I decided I was going to attend both of them. And when I did that, I reached out to some of my community folks, and I was like, hey, I have these 2 conferences. I'm not sure exactly which one I want to attend, but I'm thinking I'll probably see if I can pull through both of them. And they were like the same week, so it made sense. I mean, why not? And I prepped. I was in Krakow for SOAP conference, and I was in Amsterdam for API the Docs. So during API the Docs, that was when I met someone from one of the communities I was volunteering at, and she was like, hey, Cynthia, are you ready to start working? And I was like, I mean, I'm not actively applying or searching, but if something really good comes around, then definitely I'll take it. So she said, okay, I'll introduce you to someone later. And I said, sure, no problems. So during the calls, I participated in Q&As, I had fun, I laughed. There was wine, so it's probably on the wine, but yeah. So yeah, it was good. It was 2 days of awesomeness. It was lovely. Towards the end of the conference, she introduced me to someone, and she said, hey, Cynthia, I need to meet Eve, and Eve's team is hiring for a technical writer. It's not out there yet. She just mentioned it in passing, but I think you would be a great addition to the team. And Eve, also being a very funny person, we went for more wine, and we ended up talking and laughing that evening. Well, a month after that, long story short, a month after that, I got the offer to join the team, to move to Amsterdam. And whenever people ask me, hey, Cynthia, how do you get most of your jobs? I'm like, if I've applied for 100 jobs before in my past, I've gotten 0 job offers from all of them. 0. I've never gotten any job I applied for. All the jobs I've ever gotten have been strictly community referrals. Oh, Cynthia, I think you'd be great for this job. Or people reach out to me maybe via Twitter or social media and be like, hey, Cynthia, we saw this thing you wrote, and we think you'd be a great addition to the team, right? And when I look back, or when people ask me, it's an opportunity for me to think back and reflect and try to understand where everything started and how I went through like lots of applications, lots of rejections, and eventually all I needed to do was attend a conference and speak to a couple of people while half drunk, and I got a job offer. But yes, that's the power of open source. I contributed to a couple of projects in the passing. I probably spent 2 hours getting something done, but then it was good enough for someone to be like, oh, Cynthia, this was really good. And the first opportunity she had to introduce me to an opportunity, she just did it, and it just worked, right? Well, all of this didn't go without challenges, right? Because for someone that learned about open source in 2017, it doesn't make any sense to call myself a contributor in like 2023. That's like years apart. But there were challenges, right? You join some communities and there is no single person to help onboard you. You join some communities and some of the questions you have, there is no single person to ask. And everybody says, oh, you can ask questions in this Ask a Question channel or this general channel, but I feel dumb asking these questions. So I don't want to ask on the general or the questions channel because I feel dumb. So I need someone that I'll feel less dumb talking to, and someone that probably wouldn't judge me, like Fran. Fran was like, don't worry, I know you think it's stupid, but it's not. I'm like, yeah, I know it's stupid, but I'm gonna ask anyways, right? So, yeah, that's it. No matter how comfortable you make a newbie or a new contributor feel, we are always going to feel like we have the dumbest questions. So sometimes I meet other, my fellow mentees from the Async API mentorship group, and when we're having conversations, and I'm like, oh, I don't understand this thing, what do you think? And they're like, oh my God, I don't understand it too. And I'm like, what? I thought you were the smart one. And they're like, no, I don't understand shit. So most communities I joined at first were communities where there were no dedicated people to answer these questions or make people feel a little bit less awkward or less dumb, and that was difficult. I think API had that. I think API had that because Alejandra probably has seen some very good dumb questions, but she's always like, oh, don't worry, you're good, you'll get it all figured out. And that's been very encouraging because if I had communities or people that were very supportive of my open source journey from the first start or from my first contributions, I probably would have been more confident and I probably would have contributed to more products or more projects till now. Benefits. Well, the benefits are numerous. There are new opportunities, there are people. I probably wouldn't have traveled to Krakow if I wasn't a part of a community, an open source community. I probably wouldn't be able to travel to Amsterdam for the first time for a conference if I didn't hear about it from people. So there's something my people say, information is, for someone that doesn't know, whatever you don't know is bigger than you. So what that means is if I tell you that there's a cross right here and you don't know, you can't see it, there's nothing you can do about it. You don't know it, you don't know it. So no matter how tiny we feel the information is, for someone that doesn't know it or doesn't understand it, they don't understand it. And at that moment, that information is bigger than you. It's bigger than you can think because it could make you, it could mar you, it could be anything. It could be something that saves you, right? And a community does that. And weirdly enough, the day those conferences came up, it was just casual. We just finished having a call and someone was like, do you guys have any plans for the month or next weekend? And then someone just said, oh, I'm attending a conference. It was very casual, it was very in passing, but it literally changed a lot of things for me. So for open source, embracing lots of uncertainties in this journey, it has taught me that most of the time, we might not know what like the end goal is, but more than anything, you should just focus on the next step. And it's at the end of the journey, when you look back, that you actually see how far you've come. Yeah, for people that have not, or that still do not contribute to open source, Lucas mentioned earlier that there was a lack of maintainers, and I really want to encourage everyone here, if you can, spend some time doing open source, contributing, or even reaching out to be a maintainer, because for maintainers, I know it's tasking and I know it's challenging. It is as much as it is for contributors, because there are sometimes I have to weigh, do I really want to contribute? Do I have the time to? Because I have job, I have school, and I have other responsibilities as well. But I think one thing that has helped me is being able to dedicate time, like specific times in a week or in a day to get this done. So I put that on my calendar, and oftentimes I don't listen to it. I just like, yeah, I'll do it later. But for the times I do, I end up having like really quality contributions anyway. So please, if you can, make time to contribute to open source projects. Real world examples, probably already gave lots of that. So in my journey, I found a community, an extra pair of eyes. So when I decided to take a pause from working earlier this year, one of the things I wanted to really do was get an extra pair of eyes for my work. And what that meant is, so I've worked as a technical writer for like years. However, I've worked solo for a very long time as well. Even as a developer, I mostly worked solo. I'll probably have just one senior developer, maybe a project manager, and it's always like, oh, this is good, you're good, you're good, you're good. Compared to having like a community or other group of people, whenever we hop on meetings or calls, I throw an idea out and I see someone questioning my decision. Okay, why do you think? And it makes me think. It makes me spend more time in understanding whatever solutions I want to put out, which is like really, really good because working alone doesn't give you that. Working alone is like you do a couple of things and you send out and they're like, oh, this is good, oh, perfect. But having other people, peers, or someone that really, really wants to contribute to your growth or to the product or project, it's amazing because they serve as that extra pair of eyes to tell you, oh, you're having an error here because there's like a column here and you shouldn't have a column here. You probably look at that screen for like the whole day and you won't even notice that there was a column. But having someone just look could just solve that problem. Adaptability and learning, I have been able to adapt, figure out how to relate to different people from different places, different countries, orientation and everything. So when I'm speaking to some people now, I know, oh, I have to reduce my pace. I don't have to speak very fast. And also the opportunity to learn. There are mentorship opportunities. Like I said, I'm currently being mentored by Alejandra from Async API as technical writer. Networking opportunities. I have the opportunity to speak to lots of people in this room, like now, or during the break time. And for other conferences I've attended as well, I have opportunities of meeting people and just talking, learning about them, connecting with them on social media. And sometimes I just hit them up to like, okay, hey, I have this thing, or I have this idea, and I need your inputs. Portfolio enhancements. Obviously, whenever people reach out to me now and like, hey, what should I do for my portfolio? I'm like, I don't know, but the first thing I can think of is just get to contributing to open source projects. Because that way, you're contributing to like a big project and somewhere you see an actual result, or you see your actual contributions play out anyways. So yes, contributing to open source has helped me in building a portfolio. Community collaboration, basically the same. So the future, I see a future for myself where I'm able to get grounded in the basics of open source and be able to help people as well. Maybe not as a maintainer, but as someone or part of a community that really wants to see people that are curious about open source actually grow or get into it. I've been able to do that with a couple of people, just tell them when they reach out to me and they're curious about certain projects or how to build portfolio, I point them to help them maybe make their first contributions and all. I also see a future where for communities, or Async API specifically, or Igbo API or other communities I'm a part of, where we are able to have solid onboarding documents that can help anyone at any level at all understand the basics about a project. Because I feel genuinely that's like the first thing. For someone to contribute to a project and do it well, they need to understand the basic idea. What problem is this solving? Why is this the best solution? Why should someone care? Because if I understand why someone should care about Async API, it's going to be easier for me to sell it in any way possible to every other person. So yeah, I see a future where open source communities are able to create solid onboarding documents to help people get started. Yeah, Q&A. If you have any questions, please ask. And if you don't, we can talk later, maybe during the lunch break or anything break anyways. So, questions?
Okay, Cynthia. I have a question. Well, First, thank for sharing your journey, because I mean, I think we all be in that journey, and we can feel related because it's about community, it's about networking, it's about learning, it's about a portfolio building also. Sometimes you also feel lonely because, hello, there is something out there, I'm working with someone is benefit from this, but the question I got for you is, as an open source contributor and as a person working with, what are the signals that you would look on a community, for a healthy community you want to contribute to? Because I think this is something that sometimes in online forums where people don't know the person personally, things sometimes get distant. So what are the signals that you would look? Because you look like a person, a people person, and so maybe you can share that.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. I think the first thing is the people, and not necessarily someone I know. When I joined SNKP, I don't think I knew anyone from the community. But the way the community received me, right? So immediately I joined, I introduced myself, and I said I was interested in docs, and I think, was it Lucas, or I've forgotten who, they pointed me to Alejandra and said I should reach out to Alejandra immediately. So I think just the process, first I was received properly, secondly I was pointed to like the next step, was like the first good thing I can do. Immediately I joined, because when people join communities, it's because someone said something about the community or someone mentioned something about the community. So they're interested. So when they join, it's very important to have someone that is like, hey, oh, you said you're a technical writer, right? Okay, join this channel, right? So if there is no one person to do that, that's where the onboarding document comes in, right? Once there's an onboarding document that tells me this is what I need to do, it's a signal for me that, oh, I'm welcomed and I can do the next thing I want to do to become a contributor. But when there is no pathway, there is no process set in place to get someone onboarded, I could check Slack. When I joined a Slack channel, I could check Slack that whole day and maybe the next day 2 or 3 times. And if by the end of the week, there is no, hey, Cynthia, welcome to our community. Next steps you should do is do this. That's it, I'll forget the channel. That's it for me, and I think that's the same thing for most people I've spoken to. So it's, the first thing I look out for is there a laid out plan for how I can contribute to this community and be successful at it? Once there's a laid out plan, an onboarding document, or just pointers, hey, Cynthia, welcome to the community, join the docs channel if you want to contribute to docs. And then there's something Lucas does where he just says, hey, doc writers, we have a very small issue we need help with. That small issue, the first contribution I did for SNKPI was like fixing a small issue. I think it was a typo or something. But it helped me set up immediately. I was able to set up. I was able to create my own branch. Just knowing those basic rules. I mean, there was some information that were not there. Like, I didn't know I thought I should create a feature branch to make the contribution. But at that point, there was no guide around that to say, oh, you need to create a feature branch. So I asked. But just having that first tiny issue and saying, oh, yes, I can handle this. And he said, oh, Cynthia, go for it. That was very, very helpful. And immediately I made my first contribution, I always looked out for the Slack channel to see, oh, was there something else? Is there something else I can help out with? Is there a conversation going on? So yeah, the first thing is reception. The second thing is there like a guide or a plan for a new person like me to understand this project and contribute to it? Did I answer your question? Did I answer your question?
Of course.
Okay, yes, that's it. Any other questions? Hopefully, okay.
First of all, congratulations for this great talk, and thank you for sharing your journey.
Thank you.
And my question for you is, are you considering start mentoring other people? Because, I mean, you said you have mentors, but your experience is great, and I'm sure it will be very valuable for people that is starting the journey. So are you already mentoring someone or considering start mentoring?
Yes, I mentor, but the kind of mentorship I give at this moment is not like it's not like on a full-time basis. I have people that reach out to me about maybe challenges or whatever they're doing, and I make out time for calls or help them review their resume and stuff like that, but nothing like laid out in a row because I'm still figuring myself out. I mean, I just started a new job, I'm still homeless, and yeah, I'm still in the middle of adapting to my new environment, but it's definitely something I would like to explore. Just maybe not mentoring, but just helping people and just showing them the way because it's something I enjoy doing anyways. So yes, thank you. Yes, and that is it. Thank you for listening to me and participating in this talk. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.